I'm Michael,
And I'm Drew.
and this is the Outward Realms podcast, and we are back. Well, here we are, sitting in September 2022. This is episode 11, and we have rejoined our forces to talk about mainly two things. We've got the talk about our experience at Red Bluff Battle Reports Battle Bunker, where we streamed two games which are available on our channel as well as theirs, and have gotten some good response, which is great. And then we will do a little brief overview about what factions people can expect with the upcoming Outward Realms: A Call to Arms release. And then I will show off a couple things, and then we'll call it. But most importantly, Drew, how is Strider, the puppy?
Strider's doing great. We just got his final vaccination shot today. So in about a week, he'll be ready to basically go anywhere and everywhere. He can eat all the poop he wants. He can see all the things. It's great, but it's funny. He's been kind of limping around the house this morning, and it's been wonderful for me because I got a little bit of painting done. I've got like a ton of stuff on my list of things to do before the end of October, before the beginning of October.
Mhm.
Yeah, things are going great. Mike, how are you doing, man? I haven't seen you since Red Bluff, so how you been?
I've been great, really, really busy, as you might imagine, working my normal gigs, plus prepping everything for ACTA and Shadow War for next year. So,
Ooh.
and to remind folks, we have Shark Weekend coming up November 11th. That's a Friday. We'll have some armies on a first come, first served basis. We have tables. You can come for the OR event and then stay for the 40K Major or other games that will be played at that weekend. So you can have a whole experience. We expect the OR event to be 3 rounds. We expect it to take all day. They just tend to. We're planning to start at 9 a.m. I'm going to try to keep it 2.5-hour rounds with a lunch and a small break in between them. And then, people can play in the lunch and into the break. I'm hoping they get their games all wrapped up. And if you want to get signed up, come visit us at the Outward Realms Discord. You can find the link at outwardrealms.com at the top of the page on the right, little Discord icon. Or you can email Sovereign at outwardrealms.com and I will get you signed up. Drew will not be there, but Thornhide will be there. And Travis will be there too.
Travis is in the chat and Steve is in the chat. Hi, gentlemen.
Yep.
Excellent. Real quick, Mike, where is Hammerhead Weekend? Is it at Hammerhead Games in Sacramento, or is it?
No, it is at a convention which is that's a good question, called Conquest Sac, which is taking place at the 4 Point Sheraton Sacramento Airport.
Wow.
Which is it's a big convention center close to the airport.
Excellent. Not in the lobby of the airport, though, right?
I mean, I can't attest to that, but I doubt it is.
Okay. Did you hear about that Magic the Gathering tournament in France the other day?
Was it in an airport?
It was a 100-pound buy-in for very limited tournament prize support, and it was in the lobby of a hotel, like an actively working hotel. So that was why I asked. It's not in the lobby of the airport, right? Okay.
No, but maybe we can get future events on the actual baggage claim while it's spinning.
That is amazing, but we also need to have the proper table sizes, as the MTG guys also didn't have proper table sizes, which was very strange to look at.
That's true.
I'll send you photos. It was a friend of mine is a big MTG guy and was like posting about it on social media, and I was like, oh my gosh, like even some of the worst tournaments I've seen for AOS, Outward Realms, and stuff like that, I haven't seen anything that bad ever. Like it's a whole new experience.
Now that they've done 40K Magic, if they're looking for their next IP, come visit us.
Hey, there you go.
4 factions. That's 4 commander decks right there.
And beautiful artwork as well.
Yeah.
That is the big seller for me for MTG. Is the artwork is like,
yeah, artwork is a challenge.
It absolutely is. I can't even imagine after talking with you and seeing how design and development goes into a game like this. It's kind of eye-opening, actually, and not only how expensive it is, but how it's really tough for people to like get things right.
Absolutely.
But I think that's a good segment into what we're about to talk about, which is of course the Red Bluff
battle
reports that we did. Yeah. I was gonna say stream, but I was like, well, I guess we did one of them live, right? So
yeah, so we ended up doing 2. And so we were invited by the Red Bluff Battle Report folks who normally do 40K battle reports, but they're branching out a little bit, and they kindly extended an invitation for us to go to their bunker. So we met up in Sacramento with Drew and Thornhide, aka Steve. So Steve, Drew, and we all took one car and headed on up to Red Bluff. Went to the battle bunker, got everything all dialed in, and we had two games going the first round because they were teaching on the second table, which was not on stream. And then we had the games that you see on YouTube. It was Drew versus myself, and then we had Steve versus their gentleman.
Oh,
And
not the four of us off to the where Statler and Waldorf in the corner. Oh,
and I was giving some tactical advice to their newer player who that was only his second game ever. Like
yes,
literally happened that afternoon. So
yep.
And both of those reports are available, so we don't need to really recap it, but we should talk about the experience. I thought they had a nice setup. I was very pleased to have the opportunity to stream everything. I had not expected to play, so I wasn't fully prepared for that, but I think I still managed to perform. And I was especially pleased that all four of our lore rosters ended up on stream.
Yeah, that was one thing I totally forgot about until I was actually getting ready to leave from Steve's. Was like, wait a minute. Oh yeah, that's right. We had all four lore rosters
Yeah, we had
streamed.
Yeah,
Which
you had Phalanx, you got Hexapod Pack, you
yep.
had Terror from Above, and you had Scouting Party. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was really interesting. I think that's the first time Phalanx has ever been streamed.
Yeah, and that's something that Steve and I have been really wanting to see more of, right? Like
Yeah,
just the lore bonuses in general really change up those armies in a really fun way.
yeah,
And I'm excited to see more of them.
yeah. That'd be great. So that was cool. What did you think, Drew? What was your opinion?
So I have a background in filmmaking. I went to college here in San Francisco for filmmaking specifically, and so what I was most interested in was how their setup is actually set up.
Mm-hmm.
One of the very first instances, and I don't know if in the heat of the moment when watching another really amazing group of streamers, the Tabletop Titan guys.
Yeah,
They had their sort of like the football cam, right, where they'd go in handheld to go really close to the minis. And for some reason, I thought like, man, do they even have like a wire setup where the camera just comes down? Because it was very smooth, right? Like I took many classes on oh my god, I can't even remember what it's called, where you have the camera rigged to your own body and yet the steady cam. There you go.
Steadicam.
Steadicam, yeah. And it just turns out that it is just Steadicam. But it was really cool to see their setup. From the film shoots that I've worked on, there's like wires around on the floor, and sometimes it's kind of dangerous, and people kind of got to go slow around things. But the Red Bluff guys, they got it down, man. I was
Yeah,
highly impressed with their setup. They did have a lot of armies, and maybe some foot room was a little tight, but most like 99% of it, it was great. I thought
yeah.
it was
And
so
for two
cool.
tables in that space, and they kept it air conditioned. It was
Yep,
a very easy experience to do, and it is.
wonderful.
I don't know if we will go back to do it in person for the actor release, but we will certainly send them a couple of fleets to stream.
Sure, yeah, and that's the other cool thing too about it is like, I've got some AOS buddies who are kind of debating on trying to get into, oh yeah, like let's do a YouTube channel and do this kind of stuff. And that was the other thing that was really fun for me was to just kind of look at what they had and what they were doing, like how they had everything set up. And I thought it was excellent. They had snacks too, which I was like blown away with, right? It's
They had a snack machine, which I thought was really funny.
yeah, it was very amazing. They're so great and they're so nice too. Right? I'm not a big 40K guy. I have 40K armies. I haven't really played any of Ninth, and I hear a lot of good and I hear a lot of terrible things, right? But
I just took 10th at a big event. Believe it's a major in terms of size. They don't really use those anymore, but yeah, I just took 10th at a major this weekend.
yeah, I was gonna say that was I there are some guys who were they were not complaining about you specifically, but they were complaining that your army was good.
Imagine going to a
Yeah.
tournament trying to win.
Yep. Nope. Exactly. It was very funny because they were like, "Oh yeah, it's a Chaos Knight guy doing pretty good, like really well," and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's like some guy named Mike," and I was like, "I know that guy." And it
Yeah,
was,
I only lost one game.
yep,
So
yep.
yeah,
You did good. You did good, kid. You did good. It
yeah,
was great.
I did. And that was a great event too.
Yeah.
Strong recommend for that store in general. And actually, I want to bring them up a little bit because they may stock us in the future. Gamer Haven in Spokane, fantastic staff, fantastic venue and events. They run 2 40K events and an AOS event and a Horus Heresy event every year.
Oh my
Now
gosh,
they
that's
got that.
awesome.
Yeah, it's super cool. Strong recommend Storm of Silence and Harvester of Souls. Those are really, really good 40K events. I literally flew up to Spokane to do the thing. So, and I think it was my 3rd one. So,
Yep, yep, very nice, very nice. So how did you? I'm so sorry, we kind of glazed over you with the Red Bluff guys. How did you like their setup?
I was really pleased. We got things dialed in reasonably quickly, and I felt like both streams went smoothly, which is good. The only thing was they were stuck on that overhead mic, and I wish that we could have done more with
Yeah,
like
that was
player
the
mics or better audio. Yeah,
yep. Nope. Yep.
but
That,
audio seems to be a consistent struggle in streaming.
yep.
So
No, 100%. And even watched a lot of live streaming for AOS, and it's so funny to have like when things are delayed and people are like kind of complaining in the chat, and you're just like, well, I mean, there's really not a whole lot they can do,
yeah,
right?
I mean, the only thing they could have done, they didn't have the equipment, and if I'd known they needed it, I could have brought a mic for the table because I have them, and we could have
Oh,
run a
okay.
USB mic and put a different audio feed in there.
Sure.
Maybe that would have helped. I don't know that it would have.
Hmm.
But that was my only downside. But again, huge thanks to them for inviting us up and helping us make great content. We have
Absolutely.
close to 100 views between those 2 videos now, which
Oh,
is
wow.
pretty great for us.
Yeah, no,
So
that's exciting.
I know, and it's our most evergreen content that we have at the moment. So strong recommend if you want to see, the current rule book being played at a fairly high level. I would strongly recommend to go watch those videos.
Absolutely. I do
So
too.
let's talk ACTA. I know we talk about it almost every episode, but this is what you do when you're about to release something big,
An
right?
amazing Kickstarter.
Well, Kickstarter at the end of the year is still the goal, but where we're at right now is I'm in a massive push to get the public beta ready of the rulebook.
Okay.
And I'm going to talk about some of the big changes that are coming into that from those who did. The old beta is still there. I think we even called it an alpha, or maybe it's a beta. I don't know, but this new version is pretty substantially updated, and I would like it to be the version that goes on the Kickstarter that people look at and see that this is what we're doing.
100%.
When the Kickstarter after the Kickstarter is launched, we're going to have it should be public, just like OR, public playtesting, right? So people will playtest it, and then we'll get it dialed in even more because people will give us good feedback on the Discord, or sometimes they reach out to me directly, and that's great. I appreciate it. And so we get that stuff, and then we will go ahead, and that way we can make a book that we're happy with, right?
Of course.
The big changes for folks who know the old call to arms. So we are shrinking our table size from 4x4 to 3x3. So all the missions are going to stay the same deployments, but they'll be adjusted for this new table size. We had 2 reasons for doing this.
Oh, there's 3 reasons. I'll go over the 3rd reason after you're done with your 2.
Sure. Well, 3 is my favorite number.
Yep.
So as long as that was one of your... No, I'm just kidding.
Hey.
Well, it is, but that's not why I did it. I did it because X-Wing and Armada use 3x3 mats, and so that means a lot of people will have a space mat if they play those games. And they're already used to that format and that table size. 2, that will fit almost every table that people have.
Yep, 100%.
Yeah. And that was a big piece. Like, I love OR on a 4x4. I think it feels great at that table size, but it usually still needs a 4x4 board to be played on. The 3x3 takes away that requirement, and it's just one less step that people need to have, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. And when we release this game, we're also going to be releasing 2D neoprene terrain for it. And so the idea
Oh,
is that you just have a mat and the neoprene terrain, and that's all you need to keep. Now, if people want to make nice 3D terrain of their own and stick it on there, I will probably do that for our kind of things, right? To look cool. It's not
of course.
required, but it looks great when people do it.
Yeah, I mean, it always looks good on the board when you've got like levels of models, flying around each other.
Yeah,
But
you see the old like BFG asteroids and stuff. Exactly that
yep,
sort of thing, right? They're
yep.
reasonably simple to make. And I will probably post a guide on how to make your own.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome.
Actually, maybe there's a world where I can provide something. I don't know. I won't sell them, but maybe if I see I can license a 3D model or something and have people make their own.
That'd be really cool. It
Yeah.
does create other issues. I know Armada is if the bases for the ships are like moved, you can kind of give yourself a little bit of leeway as far as movement goes.
Oh,
And
interesting. Well, the
so
neoprene's really
and
thin, so
the neoprene's thin, but if you have something physical,
well,
it
I'm talking
can
about on
be.
like on little flight stands, so you can move it out of the way.
Yes, no, exactly. That's
Right.
oh, I see what you're saying. Just on top. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm thinking there were some Armada guys who I've seen who do plastic like tokens
Yeah.
that are like the same like it's like an asteroid, right? And then of
Yeah,
course
but
there's
those
a
are
little
high.
stand, but those are higher. Yeah, they're definitely thicker.
The idea is that this would not interfere with the game at all, right?
Of course. And
Ideally
that's what we
speaking.
want. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. So we
Yeah.
got our 3x3 board. That's a big shift.
Right.
Um we're we're having 7 factions. We've talked about that. And we'll talk about that
7
more.
factions.
I
That's
know. We'll
oh,
talk about that more in depth actually for those who are paying attention. They get the first kick on that.
yep.
And
Cool.
what else have we got? So that's a big one.
The third
Ship.
very quickly, the third
Oh yeah,
reason
hit
the
me.
third yep, the third reason for ACTA on the 3x3 is that most Armada games are actually really only played on a single 3x3. So what
Interesting.
when
Oh
you're
yeah, because they
because
start there. Yeah, right. Okay.
the ships are so far apart and the movement is not as fast as you might want it to be. So most of the time, at least when I was playing Armada, it was so funny to have the game store owner walk by and just kind of look at us and be like, you have a 6x3, but you're only using a 3x3. Why do you have the 6x3?" And so the third reason is, hey, when you're playing Armada and you move everything over onto that 3x3, you can then set up a game of ACTA and you can play them side by side because
And you're
I guarantee you ACTA's faster than Armada.
after you've done your round one
Oh,
Armada game, you can.
hi.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. Strider's here.
oh,
Hey, buddy.
never
Mama
apologize.
just came home. Yes, yeah, so sorry. Keep going. Keep going. Tell me. Tell me. Tell me.
I was gonna say after you've
Ah,
done your round one
ah,
of.
I gotta get him up here. There we go. Yeah, do you see? Take a look. Take a
Oh.
look. Say hi to everybody. Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. That's electronics. That's electronics. Oh my gosh, my dinner alarm's going off. Mike, you caught me totally off guard here, man. I'm so sorry. All right, buddy. It's time for you to go to the bathroom. Okay. All right. Oh,
Well, this is the kind of professionalism that people come and pay for. I'm telling you.
such
This,
is the life of a child. I'm so sorry.
I was gonna say this is the quality professionalism people tune in for 100%.
Hey, as long as it's not like porn stars on the other line, right? Like,
Hmm?
did you hear about that?
No, but
There was a guy doing, I don't remember what it was, some politician, and he shared his screen on accident and he had like a porn star waiting
oh,
on another stream, and he
mm,
like basically resigned the next day or something like that. It was, yeah. So I this is the highest level of professionalism. We love our families, we love our armies.
we do.
There we go. Okay.
It's true. So we got 7 factions. We've got our 3x3 boards. We've got our updated missions. We've got our updated secondaries.
Yep.
So every mission has the same secondary, and then you get to pick 2 out of 5 more every game, and they're pretty interesting. So you can really kind of base it on the other player, right?
Yeah, no, of course. That is the key thing with so many factions in the game and having like a set of like victory, right? Objectives, right?
Yeah.
Objectives, and then you have some to choose from. I think that really helps differentiate the game, and it really changes the way armies are built, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
so cool, okay.
Yeah, so we'll actually I'll talk a little bit about that right now
I,
because these will
yeah,
all be released in public and such. So
no, of
it's
course. I
not.
was gonna say, do you wanna go over one or two of them, or
Yeah, let me have a little look here. I'm scrolling through the massive pre-release doc as I have torn it into pieces and am attempting to update it. Right.
yep.
It's always a thing.
It's a process, man.
It really is. It's quite a process, and then I had a little bit of stuff prepared actually correctly and on time. Not this one. So again, this is it's a good episode, everybody. Thanks for your patience.
No, of course, of course. No, it's totally fine. But that's the thing too, right? Again, it reminds me of my film school days when I would be working on my screenplays, right? Like we're talking like feature length screenplay, where I'd like have to pull sections out of it and then like retool them, rewrite them, and then sometimes I'd rewrite them and forget to put them back in. And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, oh wow, okay, finish the segment that I did, go back, finish a little bit more, and then I'd reread what I wrote, and I'd get to that one section. I'm like, oh my god, what happened to it? Like there's a whole like 5 minute scene here that I took out and didn't put back in. It's problematic, man. There is so much work involved in keeping your writing together. And of
Yeah.
course, with rules, it's even worse, right? Because you've got
Yeah.
like, okay, there's like attacking, and then like the substeps of attacking, there's defending, substeps of defending, right?
Yeah.
Actions, movement. It's, yeah, the whole thing.
There's a big old flow chart that you got to follow.
No, exactly.
That's not a joke. So we've got mission objectives. So every single mission's got the confirmed kill points. Based on the size of the ship that you destroy, you're going to get points at the end of the game because ultimately in space, in these combats, your goal is to stop the enemy from accomplishing their goals. If they are destroyed, they are not accomplishing their goals, right?
Makes sense. Makes sense.
And every ship you take out is a massive blow to what they're trying to do, right?
Their
Every
fleet.
ship, I mean, yeah, it takes it's very difficult. It's a lot of work to build a ship, right?
Yep.
And that is a component of this. But your other mission objectives, you've got priority target, where you basically select the highest cost ship in their fleet and try to go take it down.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm guessing it'll often be a battle cruiser, which is the toughest ship to destroy.
Makes sense. And also the largest, right? Like,
Right.
Yep.
And then you got cripple squadrons, which is for every you get some points for every squadron you blow up.
Okay. Excellent.
And that's really nice for like a faction that has a lot of fighters, like the Hexagoda. You know
Sure.
that you're going to have to kill them. So
why not get some points for it, right?
why not get some points for it? That's right.
Yep.
Smash and grab, which is successful boarding actions.
Oh, okay. Very nice.
Yep. So they're basically raiding these ships for supplies, or in the case of one of the factions, crew.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
You got breakthrough. So every ship of size 1 or greater that ends the game wholly within an opponent's deployment zone scores their size times 10 in battle points.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So you have to plan the maneuvering carefully, and you have to survive the process. But if you do, you're very rewarded. And that is dependent on the map, the deployment. Some deployment zones are much easier than others.
It makes sense. Yep. Some are easier, closer together, right? Further apart.
Yep. And then you have survive at all costs, which is every enemy ship which is weakened, which is one of the conditions, is worth its size times 5 in battle points. Each friendly ship which is impaired is worth its size times 10. So, like, if you don't die, but the more heavily injured you are and not dead, the more points you're worth.
That is awesome. And these are items that you choose at the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
right?
they're actually chosen when you determine the mission objectives, so what mission you're playing, and then you secretly select 2 of them and then reveal the same.
Perfect. So it's very similar to OR in that instance.
Yeah, but a little faster because there's only 2 to pick from, and you have access to all of them.
Yep.
There's no like keyword restrictions or anything, and then you also know that every ship you blow up, you're just gonna get stuff.
You're just gonna get more. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
So I think that's the core shifts. I want to talk a little bit about Armada's fighters versus our fighters. So in many of these games, fighters are one of the slowest pieces of the game because they're often in their own initiative steps. Their weapons are often different. Their movement is fiddly. You have to keep track of their health. In this new edition, my intent is to actually the old fighters actually had hit points, and every squadron was numbered. I want those days gone. Every single fighter token, and they're just tokens, little cardboard tokens. Every single fighter has 1 hit point. What makes them different in terms of toughness and survivability is their hull value and something called a jink save, which is sort of like an ignore the hit save. So you have two different things. Like a heavier, harder to destroy fighter might have a mediocre jink save, but a great hull value. So it's hard to like get the weapons to punch through, right?
Sure, sure.
But
It's very elusive,
right, but
right?
a very slippery fighter or a very light fighter might have a great jink save and like, a low hull value. Like it's easy to destroy once you hit it.
Right.
Right. So, and I think that's going to speed things up substantially. We're going to have to adjust all the numbers accordingly, especially like defensive fire pools and things to help offset that. However, I believe that will be the way to go. I want fighters to go very fast. This is a game you have to, in my opinion, you have to include fighters in a capital ship game.
Oh yeah, no, there's
If your
yep,
universe has fighters, right?
yep,
But this is not X-wing. They are not the focus. They
right,
are important to the strategy, but they're important to the strategy, and you can't ignore them, right? If you get a pile of fighter tokens on your ship, they can do real damage to you. You
right.
have to deal with them. But this is really about big ships slugging it out with big firepower, right? And that's
Sure.
where I want the focus to stay.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Armada is like that as well, but in Star Wars and all these other sci-fi shows, there's really iconic scenes of making that attack run, coming in real
Yep.
close and doing some damage and not taking any damage in return, right? Because they jink or they juke or they are elusive, right? They're hard to pin down.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that if I was going to play a fleet game, I love the big cruisers coming at each other, but I completely agree. You've got to have those little fighters. You've got to have something, right? Like,
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think they're a big part of it. But we don't want them to take a long time. And again, the one of the best parts about this game is going to be the streamlined nature of it, and will be the speed in which it plays. Right.
sure,
I want people using that time, that thinking, um, on which order to give their ships, planning their moves, their target priority, those sorts of things, right? I think
no, of course,
those are the lever decisions, and then the rest of it, I don't want them like focusing like, oh man, I'm gonna like build one by one grids of all these like little fighters and stuff, and like,
no, 100%. And
yeah,
setup versus playtime is a massive problem. Like Sherry and I, for example, I never played a legacy board game before, but Sherry and I just got a Kickstarter legacy board game, and we were watching some reviews for this game specifically, and a
yeah,
lot of the reviews were like, we spent more time setting the game up than actually playing, and
wow,
that negatively impacted the people's
yeah,
experience with the game. And I do feel like setup, playing AOS and 40K, obviously deployment and movement is a massive part of these games, but there are some games where going to tournaments and it's all casual, right? I have no
yeah,
problems with this, except for when I do. Well, like setting up the board for turn one takes 45 minutes to an hour of your 2.5 hour time. Like that's not ideal. And
yeah,
so I'm greatly excited that ACTA, you have that setup in mind of like you want to just be able to 1-2 and done. You don't want someone to sit there measuring out all the little tokens to like, I need this perfect formation to like stop you from doing something. And it's like, well, that's not quite how it works, right? So
yeah, totally. So let's talk a little bit. We talk about these big core changes. Let's talk a little bit about factions, because I know people ask a lot of questions about this and they're curious. And so let's talk a little bit about it. We know who the core four are. We don't have to go over them. If you want to read more about our core factions, there are 100 articles on the website. We have the free rulebook available at the website. There's 100 and, I don't know, some odd pages of 100 some odd pages of lore. So there's a
Discord
lot
as well
there.
has lots of questions answered about the four.
Totally. So what they really want to know is about the other three. Now, I've done one article on the Unbound, which are the non-realm humans, right?
Okay.
So when the Unification War took place, the first sovereign focused on the most developed, most heavily populated section of where humanity had populated. However, around the in Botcher space and around the galactic rim, there's all this extra room, right? And so that's where the Unbound are. Those are the folks who did not get taken over by the first sovereign. Either they escaped, they ran away, whatever they did, they got out, right? And they chose to keep their independence from these big fleets scooping people up into a centralized government, right?
Sure. So it's that scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail where he walks up and he's like, "Who are you? I'm your king." No, you're not. Like, my king.
It's like you land on the planet, you're like, this is my planet. No, we've lived here for 100 years, but you don't have a flag. So
Yep, no, exactly. Yep.
But I brought a flag. So
I brought a flag, so it's 100%.
It's mine now.
100%. All right, so this is a group of people who have not gone, who did not become part of the realm.
They are not part of the realm. No. And so in the outer rim of the galaxy, in these sections, the worlds are not quite as good, right? As you get more star density as you go inward, right? And it's a little sparser and more remote. No realm-based infrastructure. But the Unbound specifically focus on the pirate clans. So anytime that you have successful mercantile economy, right? Without anytime you have a successful mercantile economy and you don't have a central government that can crush piracy all the time, you will have piracy. And I say that makes
sense. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting too because we have piracy, here on Earth still, but it can only really exist in places where there's not, quick response by by militarized Coast Guard and like naval vessels.
I mean,
right?
it going outward into space, literally piracy just gets worse, right?
It does.
Like
because the delay to get help is longer.
Yep.
But what's interesting is the piracy is very specific in Outward Realms because a ship is not vulnerable while it's in transit. Well, okay, I take that back. It's vulnerable if it's sitting there just recharging all of its drives, but no captain would leave all their drives discharged.
Yeah, all their eggs in one basket.
They would leave at least one charge so they can gravity drive into a system or make an emergency blink out. Blinking in this setting, there's no warp trail. There's nothing to follow. They're gone. Unless you know where they're going, or unless you get a probe through their wormhole at the same time they're transiting through, you don't know where they went, right?
Sure.
So that's an effective escape.
Yes. Yep. A good way to jump, right?
So what they would do is they would hit people in system, because when you're on gravity drive, you're stuck at that speed. You can't blink out. You can't get away. And your course is probably predetermined. You're almost certainly going to a station or an outpost or the golden world that's there, right?
Right. The ships cannot turn right fast enough to.
Well, I mean, you're stuck at a certain speed, right? Even if so, if they wait 1 day for you to go in system and hit you at that point, you're stuck between all those places.
Yep. They've got you. That's it.
Now that's up to the system to protect you, right? This is not going to happen in the capital systems of a major house.
Right.
But there are a lot more worlds than that. Right?
Oh yeah.
And so if they hit you during that time frame, they hit you and then get out, well, they have a head start, They're going to get away. So that's successful piracy in Our Realms. And because of how FTL works, there is that window of time where you can successfully hit a ship and take stuff and get out.
Right. And so what are they looking for most often when they raid?
Yeah, so they want resources. They want exotic matter fuel.
Okay.
They want basically the fuel that runs the blink drives, because that takes very big refineries in deep space to manufacture. Right? It's difficult to manufacture.
Sure, makes sense. Okay.
And I call them like rare matter blocks. They want those, which are things that they can feed into fabricators to make advanced electronics.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
So they want exotic, they want rare metal blocks. They want luxury goods, right? Everything from fresh food to consumables. Like when you're transiting something from point A to point B, and I've thought a lot about this. I was thinking okay, so it would be very difficult outside of a handful of worlds to feed an entire world via spaceship, right? If it has any real size population, right? Mm-hmm. It's not really feasible. I mean, you'd have to spend lots of ships moving tons of biomatter from point A to point B just to drop corn on people and keep them from dying.
And time too. Yeah.
Well, it's time, it's fuel, it's everything, right? And even with how fabricators work, where they can take all this biomatter and compress it down to just literally like a biomatter block and then reconstitute it into something, right?
Yes.
Into something edible. However, that's not. Yes, some of those definitely get moved from point A to point B, especially to stations and other things that aren't growing food. That's a better use of that time. But you're going to get fresh food. You're going to get consumable items and luxury goods that are, they're going to go bad, right?
Yeah. It's going to take too long to get them.
But you'd want them. And it's like when you buy an imported something, right? Like it has a higher cost, but it's a treat. It's something kind of worth having. All these golden worlds can't have some amount of arable land. That's why they were colonized, right? So they are growing food.
Yep.
Right.
Compost is a thing too. If hey, we're going to get this a few days later, a week later, so it's rotten. Well, we can still, you
don't want your consumables to go bad. It's like when we send luxury. It's like when we send luxury goods from point A to point B. Like we import, rare vegetables and rare fruits. Well, the transit time is roughly the same, right? It's still multiple months.
Yes.
Right. But you'll get there, and you'll pay if you're willing to pay the cost. You can sell some of these things.
You could take them. Yeah.
So those things are worth stealing, right?
Sure.
Offline blocks. So if you have
offline,
with the digital currency of the realm, if your blocks are in basically a hardware wallet, right? Detached from the main chain, it's like having cash, right? You could steal that.
Okay.
Ammunition, weapons,
of course. Yep.
Fighters.
Yep. That's what I was getting at. This is what I wanted to talk about. There we go.
Yeah. I'm just talking about all the things that might interest an unbound pirate. Or if you're a real overachiever like Marcelo Ortiz, you steal a braided.
What is one of those? What is that?
That is one of the people that can actually become a sovereign.
Whoa. Oh yeah, that's right, huh?
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, that thing in the lore. That's right.
That's right.
Well, hey,
there's not a lot of them, and he kidnapped one of them. So that's interesting.
Cool. Yeah, I was gonna say, is this story expanded upon already? Do you know
Well,
what
it's in
happens? Can we
the
like
in the lore
uh-huh.
on the article on the website we talked about that. So
Oh, cool. I'm gonna look that up as soon as we're done here.
so all of the unbound ships are essentially realm vessels, like industrial ships, right? Ships that have a dedicated purpose, a dedicated non-military purpose within the realm that are common enough to refit in a consistent way, such as the I will show it at the end of the podcast, but
Oh,
I will show the realm cruiser. So, and that is a like normally would be a medium Hemera class freighter,
okay.
a really common freighter model, but they have modified theirs for anger. All of its cargo bays are full of terrible weapons and fighters and such. So
Sure. I was gonna say, living very close to Oakland, right, and always seeing the cargo containers, it's always been my dream to like shoot a cargo container of like bombs into an enemy ship in orbit, right? So this sounds like the perfect faction to do that.
well, and I'm not going to show it, but the battle cruiser is a mining ship.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I guess that's a quick question that I have for you then is
yeah.
are does this faction have any ships that are their own? Like they have made them themselves,
They
or
don't
is their
have
whole
the only thing they make are light fighters. They don't
Okay.
have the shipyards they have can refit existing vessels, but the requirements to design the amount of logistical chain and
Yep.
design you would need to actually design a ship, they may be near that at some point in the future, but they're not there yet.
Sure.
It's really, really hard to make a line of spaceships.
Yep.
Like custom one-off ships, sure. But that's not what this game is about. This game is
Right.
about what you're more likely to see.
Yep.
Like they're about fleets that are consistent. And
Sure.
another reason they keep them modified as industrial ships is it's great for piracy because a medium Hemera class freighter has a very particular mass signature when it blinks in. So
Oh,
one
sure.
of
And it
those,
and it also it looks like
well, sure,
it
and a
it
sensor
yep.
exactly, right? And
Yep.
so when you blink in, there's a mass signature, and they'll go, "Oh, that's a Hemera class, medium Hemera class. Who cares?" Those come and
Yes.
go all the time. Well,
Right.
this one is different than those, right?
It's different. Yeah. And it's also a monetary
This one didn't bring you some watermelons. This one is
Yep.
bringing you torpedoes.
His torpedoes, watermelon torpedoes.
It is still delivering something to you at high speed. It's just not what you ordered.
It's just not what you ordered. Yeah. Well, the other thing too
Right.
is it's a monetary thing, right? Like it's easier to spend a little bit of money to refit a couple of these fleet ships that you already have sitting
Right.
there rather than
Yep.
spending all of that money to try and make your own
Well, I mean, it's
while
more
the
than just money. I
others
mean,
are
think about design, right?
sure.
Like that
Yep.
takes, highly trained, very competent engineers who want a great place to live, right?
Right.
These are people living on capital worlds. They're very well paid. They're, highly paid professionals. They don't
Sure.
want to live in an unbound, broken down, unbound space station. They're not going to work chained to a wall. I mean, they might, but
Right.
like, you're not going to get a lot of those,
Right. I mean,
right?
but we're talking about engineers here who thought it was a good
Yeah, I'm like,
idea
oh, I need a
to
blink drive engineer to do my harmonics. Let's go to an academic planet and kidnap one.
Yeah, right.
And then we got to convince
No, it
this
was
person to work.
yep, yep. I was gonna
Oh,
say
wait,
we're dealing
and
with
no one understands the math they're doing, and they're designing our spaceships,
uh,
right? So if they
ooh,
do it wrong, you're gonna blink into the middle of a star. You're just gonna
yep.
explode. Like
So
this is not. That's not what you want.
it's bold strategy, Cotton. I was gonna say the engineers that we're working with here thought it was a good idea to paint watermelons on the torpedoes in the bay where the watermelons were stored because they thought it was funny, right?
Watermelon
Like
is delicious. There's no
it's
doubt
very
about it.
good.
And you
Mhm.
can't blink into a star, by the way. But that's not. I just use that as an example of
Oh,
like.
sure.
But they could make it so it never works the way it's supposed to, and you really need it
Right.
to work the way it's supposed to.
Yep, especially when you're trying to pirate, right? Like
Right.
it's trying to
So
sail the
that's
seven seas.
yeah, that's right. So that's another reason, right?
Sure.
But there's two others that we haven't really talked too much about, and I won't go into them because we're running a little towards our
Oh
hour
shit, we
anyway.
are.
We
Hmm.
are, but that's okay. We have a lot of these to do. So I'm part of me is like, you know what? Maybe we'll talk about the next faction in the next episode. How about that? We'll split it up between the next two.
I would love to do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think it's cool too because you were gonna show us some stuff too. So we got a few minutes
Yeah,
left
and
here. We're
I
gonna
do want
see
to do that.
something.
I do want to do that. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show uh, the Unbound Cruiser, and I'm going to show the Nightfall Battle Cruiser.
Oh, 2 ships. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's see if we can get this thing to do the thing. Oh, share screen. Hey, how about that?
Did you ever think to call the game Inward Realms and then this other faction of pirates would be called Outward Realms?
Okay. That's okay. Yep. Boop, 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 boop. All right. I should be sharing my screen now. Maybe.
Still
here we
looking
go.
at your beautiful
There
mug. There it
it
is.
Okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and click the. So that is the Unbound cruiser, and you can see where the modifications have come in. So it is a freighter. So the freight goes on these rails, right? These are like what we would like a cargo container, sort of like what you talked about, right?
Yeah, sure.
And you have this ship here, that's the core of it, right? So this, you attach the rails to that, and this ship actually can detach from these rails and move around, and that's how you could like leave a bunch of cargo in one place and go grab more cargo, right?
It's like a truck, right? It's like a truck. So
yeah,
the flatbed is in front, obviously, because it's a spaceship. So.
Exactly, but you can see where they've made modifications, right? You could see that they have flat cannon arrays up here, right? They've got these defensive weapons that they've placed, and you can see that instead of cargo openings, these seem to have gun apertures, right?
Oh, sure, yeah, like
so this
like
whole bay is like a power station and a targeting system for this massive energy weapon, and then this flak battery, and then this energy weapon, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so you can see what they're doing there, right?
I like this too because it's also like this is like cargo, so it's also fairly heavily armored as well.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the insides have been, totally changed. It reminds
and you
me
can
a
see
lot
where
of
it detaches from the rail pieces too. But
yeah,
I like that if one of these were to get damaged, they just swap it out with another one, right?
Yeah, yep. You don't even lose like a big chunk of the ship either, right? It's just a small section that can literally be carted off and carted back on.
Yep, and you get your torpedo launcher right there. So yeah, there we go.
Side. Cool.
Now for the Nightfall, we got the battle cruiser.
Oh wow!
Very, very different style of ship.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool looking.
Thank you. Yeah, we got that nice radial symmetry following the Nightfall design motif.
Sure.
You've got the classic eye, right?
Yep.
I think it looks very alien, and I like it quite a bit. It still follows their motif, but it really doesn't look like any other. Their ships don't look like. I think all the ships have some nice differentiation, with the exception of the Unbound and the Realm, because obviously they're designed off the same core philosophy. Although I will say that we are working on a kind of a revision 2 of the Realm right now to better link the new Unbound ships visually with the old Realm ships. So we're going to have a newer Realm that's kind of like going to match that motif a little better.
Okay.
But yeah, so there we go.
I'm not a big fan of those films. It reminds me of the Transformers movies.
Oh, okay.
A little bit, but I have to be honest with you. I think this puts a lot of what they did in those films to shame. The look of it, the star, like I mean, obviously they want toys and stuff, right? So they've got to look a certain way.
Well, that's what we sell too. So that makes sense.
Yeah, I know exactly. But I like this. I like the Nafal stuff. Looks killer. I'm excited to see more. I want to see more next time.
Yeah, there will be next time. Absolutely. Well, do you have anything else you want to add, Drew?
No, I think that's it. I want to play ACTA. I want to sit down with you and do it. Yeah. So when we get it together,
it's going to be real exciting. Cool. It's going to be very exciting. we're extremely stoked about it. I'm hard at work on that public release. When that goes out, that'll have all the factions rules in it. It will have all the missions. It'll be fully fledged, as always, free. People can read it. People can proxy it. People can come and talk about it. And at our events where it's ready, we will start. It will start showing up. Right, we'll start getting those little 3x3 boards out. Get a few ships on each side. Teach people the core mechanics of the game.
Sure.
All right.
Cool. Right
Well,
on.
thanks,
Let's do it.
Drew. Well,
Yeah,
this has been
thank you so
Michael,
much. This is Drew.
and we will see you next month. Thank
Have a
you.
good one, people.
Bye bye.